oftentimes oppositions come up, and it's just, I think the Lord will bless us. I honestly do. I think the Lord will bless the ones that are obedient and faithful to Him, and it's something that's lacking in this day and time. But tonight, as we get into our lesson, we see that Paul had came and the first part of chapter 3, as he told them, he said that he could not speak unto them spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as in babes in Christ. As this church had grown, and I want us to understand that this church was becoming more spiritually mature. At this point, he said, even as unto babes in Christ. So at that instant, if they would have still been babes in Christ, he wouldn't have said even as unto babes in Christ. He said there, I can't speak to you spiritual, but as unto carnal, as to worldly, as just to normal people, basically back to them on the milk, as the latter part of the verses say there. And oftentimes we need to understand that we get in that spiritual mindset, that we get in that place in our own lives. But what he says here in the latter part of chapter number 3, he talks about the building thereupon. As Christians, we have to understand where the foundation is, what the foundation is laid. And when we truly grasp that and hang on to it and cling to it as an anchor bolt, at that point, you can stand firm, be not moved. But we're in a day and time that people they've lost all grasp, all understanding of who the God we serve is. And I believe if we would ever get back to that and really be dedicated, a lot of people say, well, you don't see people saved the way they was 100 years ago. No, because people do not have the desire to serve God the way they did 100 years ago. Then I know a lot of people that'll make them mad, but it is what it is. We're in a spiritual downfall because we have forgotten who the God we serve is. Or is the God that we're serving today, is it the same God that was being served in biblical times? And I'm not saying that God changes. He doesn't. But just as the children of Israel, how many gods did they have? But tonight he says, in verse 10, according to the grace of God which is given unto me. And that right there is a powerful, there's a powerful statement. That's a powerful way that Paul starts out there. What did he say? He said, according to the what? Grace. Whenever he said, according to the grace of God which is given unto me, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another build thereupon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. As he says there, according to the grace. What's our faith hinge off of? You are saved by faith through what? Grace. Through your faith, you are saved by the grace, because God's grace is what saves us. Did we deserve salvation? No, absolutely not. But through grace, by our faith, it got us to where we was at. And that's what Paul was telling him here. He says, according to the grace, according to the mercy that God had bestowed upon me, had given to me. In our Christian walk, we have to understand that God has given us the grace. We're all about getting something for free. But often too many times as children of God, we have forgotten that rich in mercy, that the most abundant in the book of Ephesians that we talked about Sunday night, that He gives us, that He bestows upon us, that He lets us freely have. And it says, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation. What foundation did Paul lay? Jesus Christ. Paul laid the foundation and none other but Jesus Christ. When Paul went in, what did he preach? Preach Jesus. That was the foundation. We know as in building, where does it all start? Starts in the foundation. You don't have a good foundation, guess what? Your home will never last. The Bible teaches this. The Bible preaches this. That it all hinges on the chief cornerstone, Jesus Christ. And he says there, and another buildeth thereupon. He said, I come in, I preach Jesus Christ. People started getting saved. The foundation in this church was started on Christ. He said, and then when someone else came in, he said, they buildeth thereupon. It's the same in churches today. And a lot of times we don't want to talk about it, but you have a pastor that's came in, maybe a missionary that started the church. It was a good doctrinal foundation church. It was on Christ and Christ alone. Through your faith by grace you was saved, and everything, the foundation was built. And then you might go 4 or 5 pastors down the road and you get one that comes in that might be Calvinist. Or you might get one that comes in that preaches works as part of your salvation. Paul talks about this. This is what Paul's talking about. He says what he builds thereupon. Because he says, I have laid the foundation, another buildeth thereupon, but let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. That's what he's talking about. Let him take heed. Let him, what's that word mean? Take heed. Be careful. Yeah. To be watchful. To be mindful. To study, to earn, to be careful of how you build